Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. We've had our cold temps, makes us test our heaters, makes us stay home and notice different things around the house than we normally would notice. If you happen to notice a spot here, a spot there, it may be a leak. Don't let it go wrong. Call 954-579-0356 for Water Cleanup of Florida. If you do that, everything else will be easy. They will make your life easier than you could think of finding something at the home. Usually finding something around your home or office is a scary thought, but knowing Water Cleanup of Florida is there gives you a nice peace of mind. It has done that for me and my wife, and it will do that for you. Again, 954-579-0356 for Water Cleanup of Florida. With over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, their entire team, the fact that they've contracted, insured, certified contractors, licensed contractors, it means not only the job will get done and get done efficiently, but it'll look as good as new. And that's a lot of the time some of the issues is finding people that will not only do the work, but you don't have that spot on your wall, the spot on your ceiling forever. Water Cleanup Florida will make sure every time you look at that spot, you'll see what you saw before the leak was found, the water damage was found. They are your people that will make sure, again, any issues you have, home or office, look good as new. Check them out on the socials at Water Cleanup FL. Also on their website, Water Cleanup WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com to get in touch with Water Cleanup of Florida 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can reach out to them. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts. Well, the Dolphins, once again, seem to be full of guts in the first half against the Green Bay Packers at home. It was a cold day, more to the Packers' liking. Tua and the Dolphins got out to a 20-10 lead. Looked like they were going to extend that before half. Then a Mostert fumble led to a Packers field goal. Packers got the ball to start the second half, got a touchdown, tied it up. And the Dolphins did not score again the rest of the half. 3 straight interceptions by Tua on 3 straight drives. And then the news yesterday that Tua is in a concussion protocol. Don't know if he has concussion or not, but it isn't a good sign for the Miami Dolphins. Defo and I talked a lot about that this morning, where the Dolphins are and where they could go on the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, many things to get to. Wow, we missed yesterday. We decided to take a holiday off.
I
don't know if, Lubie, you had some kind of conflicts or anything.
I had no plans.
I was more than happy to sleep in one extra day of my life.
I just figured who's watching. Like, I did the math, and I'm like, oh, yeah, today is like the Christmas. And the world seemed to be asleep. So I'm like, what do we wait? Like, and everyone I tried to get on was like, nah, no. I'm like, oh, tomorrow's
nobody
Christmas.
wants to work on that Monday after Christmas. Yeah. When it falls on a Sunday, you figure you're going to have Monday off. If we were back in the radio business, we would have definitely asked for, like everybody else, to have Monday off. Although Monday was a great day to discuss sports because you had most of the NFL activity on Saturday. Then you had very important games, 3 of them on Sunday. One of which, of course, was our focal point here in town, and that is Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We moved the ball from 20-20 like no one's ever seen. Dolphin Danny's going to be rolling over in his grave. Those of you who are holding tickets right now on the over at 9 are sitting there sucking some wind also, right? Trying to hold back gas in an elevator there. It's like, I know I can make it out of here. I don't want to fart on everybody.
Well, after yesterday's
news. We're spitting a bit there, and then turns out Tua's back in concussion protocol, which leaves us what? Teddy Bridgewater, who has been a completely forgotten man this year, and maybe rightfully so, because they lost the 3 games that he was in there, did they not? Teddy Bridgewater, what did he start? 3 games for the Dolphins or 2?
I think
Tua had the concussion before, and then he played the following week, and everybody said they were crazy to put him in there against Cincinnati. He hit his head again. And look, this is a kid that we're rooting for. Let's put it that way. Before everybody gets into the Tua sucks and he's not a franchise quarterback, that's fine. He may not be, but it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. I don't know that he needs to be subjected to just an endless stream of disparaging and ugly remarks about his play. I mean, as Dave Wanstead said, I think it's up there with anything that Plato or Aristotle uttered. It is what it is. And what it is starting to become a little bit more definitive, is it not, Lubie? That, and therein lies the problem. You have new coach. You have an arsenal of weapons that Victor Boot would be proud to unload and maybe throw the ball to. And you're 8-7. and this was a team that was 9-8 last year after starting 1-7.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, this would represent zero progress, even if they win one of their last two games. They'd be at the exact same point they were last year, with a coach they hated in Brian Flores, who was uncommunicative and hated the owner and hated everything about the organization, ended up suing them and the National Football League, with a quarterback that you thought was suspect, who, should the Dolphins go 1-2, and one of those games is, well, I don't even know if Tua is going to play the rest
He may not
of the
play.
season.
That's the problem. The problem is now these were the two games where, for people like me, he was going to prove us right, and for people like we won't say you, but what's it, Big Al, they'll prove them right. If he doesn't play, what do you do? Like, I don't know
Here's
how
the thing
you
about
judge
Justin
him.
Herbert, though, and I know you don't like him, and you're always pointing out
I
his
think
flaws.
he's a talent. I just hate the comparisons. I think they're two different quarterbacks, but
Well, and
Herbert's a
Tua
talent.
gets off to a lot of fast starts in games, and unfortunately has a lot of clumsy finishes.
Yes, that
Much more so now. Early in the season, that
He
was
was
not
great.
the case. The Dolphins were rallying from the grave, and Tua was spectacular.
Yes,
The problem is, can you sustain it? And now, over 17 games in 18 weeks, not an easy thing to do. Only the elite quarterbacks are going to be able to sustain that. And maybe they throw in, one semi-stinker, but even that, they find a way to emerge with a victory. It happens. I mean, you'll see it with Mahomes. I mean, perhaps he has a better team around him all the way around. That's certainly, a consideration. But I mean, you looked at Justin Herbert last night. They had a series of crappy possessions. The Los Angeles Chargers playing the Indianapolis Colts. How the Colts were only 4-point underdogs to the Chargers is beyond comprehension. If there was ever a game that you were just going to send in your life savings, your children's trust fund, your grandchildren's nest egg, and any money that you were going to have left over by the time you hit, pay dirt, you would have sent it in last night on the Chargers, thinking that 4 points is not enough for the Colts, who now in the last 6 quarters of football have been outscored 56-6.
Oh Jesus!
56-6 in their last 6 quarters of football. They were up 33-0 in that ball game against Minnesota. They scored 3 points in the second half, giving up 36, and included an overtime. And they scored 3 points last night with Nick Foles at quarterback. I didn't even know Nick Foles was still in the league. Did you?
No idea. I kept seeing that name last night. I'm like, why are people talking about Nick Foles?
Right. Because he wasn't even the second-string quarterback that they had with the Indianapolis Colts. And at the time they acquired Nick Foles, they thought this was a big score, that he was going to be, like they also, suspected Matt Ryan would be for them, a veteran quarterback who would be a catalyst for like maybe a 1 or 2 year proposition. I guess you're looking at that with Stafford and the Rams. They traded a lot to get Stafford, though. Whereas Matt Ryan was kind of, a very easy, soft purchase, I think, for the Indianapolis Colts, because everybody knew the Falcons were ready to move on. So, but that didn't work out. What's the guy's name? It's like Erlinger or something like that.
Oh, Sam
The,
Ellinger.
other quarterback?
Sam Ellinger.
Yeah. So he played and showed some promise very briefly, as sometimes is the tendency when the backup gets the job and starts, and then he looks real good for a game, but then he fizzles out because he's not able to sustain it over a long period of time. And that may be the problem that we have with Tua, especially if you compound the issue with his penchant for throwing late picks to also include, unfortunately, and you'd hate to say it, but this was one of the concerns that people had about him, injury prone.
It's the injury thing. The injury thing is what's going to turn people like me around. Like I don't know about any of the other stuff. The 3 interceptions on consecutive possessions was something that we've never seen from him.
But if he's seeing bugs, I don't know. I mean, maybe he was seeing triple at the time. He probably should have told
He supposedly had a concussion versus the Bills and the Bengals and played fine. So I'm not going to automatically assume that the concussions are why he played bad. He played bad. I'm not defending it. The thing that'll get people like me is if he keeps getting hurt, then they weren't wrong. And I get it. Other guys have had concussions, and they are also bigger guys. And the bigger you are, the stronger you are. It just is the truth. And this is a league that isn't made for people who are small. It's just not. So, and Tua, for as much as he gets rid of the ball, he does have 2 or 3 times a game where he holds onto it forever and takes a hit. He's not Josh Allen. He's just not. He's not Stafford. He's not even Pickett's a decent sized guy.
But his hand is always getting bounced off the
because he doesn't
there,
handle
like he was a Spalding. I mean, it's 100%. Unbelievable.
So that's the kind of thing that, well, even for people like me who are staunch Tua defenders, if he's getting hurt a lot, then it doesn't matter good or bad. Like, you need him out there.
Yeah.
You need him to play. And that's what ended RG3's time, was that he couldn't stay healthy.
He also was suspect in a lot of areas, RG3, even though he had that one great year where it looked like he was really worth the lofty thoughts that people had about him when they drafted him, number 2 overall? And a lot of people thought he was going to go number 1 overall, that there was a chance that would happen. It didn't. Who got drafted number 1 that year with RG3?
Andrew Luck. Remember that?
Luck.
There
Okay.
was a late,
right.
he may be better than Luck. And I was like, no, he's not.
No, he wasn't better than Luck, although Luck, also had a relatively short career considering the amount of tanking that was involved by the Indianapolis Colts, who were a disgrace in their suck for Luck here, as were the Dolphins in their, let's lose for Tua. Right? Tanking for Tua, what was the slogan? And they did that. They tanked. They tried. Flores wouldn't allow it to happen.
Abide by it, yeah.
Fitzpatrick came in, rallied the team. They ended up winning 5 games. Selected 5th. They still had an option of taking Justin Herbert. They went with Tua Tagovailoa, who was coming off a hip injury. They knew he wasn't necessarily going to be ready to go right away. They had the wrong coach in place to try and get something out of this guy, and didn't have near the talent that they had on the roster a year ago that they do right now, even though they had Waddle. When you combine Waddle with Tyreek Hill, and then sort of the lost soul Gesicki, which that's one of the mysteries I really don't understand, why Mike Gesicki is not more involved in the offense, because he always seems to be a catalyst of good whenever he's in the lineup and actually gets targeted with a throw or two. The one thing that you did see, and it was illustrated, very easily in the late going when Tua was throwing those picks, is he was literally telegraphing exactly where he was going.
Yes.
And he was going to the very first option that he had, the so-called first read.
Yep.
And if that's all you're going to do, the NFL is going to catch on.
Nah.
There's no way that you can do that consistently and expect to succeed.
That isn't too. That's annoying. Like what I've found, and it's what you made fun of me for, is not only people parrot, but they have to come up with a narrative. That's another stupid sports word, and they have to stick to the narrative. All game he's looking off guys. All game he is going through different reads. He did on those 3 straight drives. Was one read and throw. He was. But this idea, he's a one read. That's not true. That's actually the opposit of what
Well, in those cases, though, when
he was 100%.
He became that.
He did.
And that's just as bad as, I mean, he was having a great game in the first half. I mean, you would have thought, wow, this guy is everything that you would want him to be. He doesn't really run well instinctively. I mean, it's not like he takes off as well as some other quarterbacks do, and he's not an effective runner in the sense that Josh Allen is, where you're afraid that this guy's going to run over you. Joe Burrow actually is a very effective runner. Mm-hmm. We've seen that with Justin Herbert, where he takes off and runs and is a powerful force, and he's not afraid to go ahead and run over a defensive back. Also, remarkably, is 23 out of 24 on quarterback sneaks of either 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations. Justin Herbert. Same thing.
Dude.
Tom Brady was always great at that. And that makes a big difference when you don't have to hand the ball off in those spots. And take the chance that, all of a sudden your running back who gets the ball 2 yards, behind the quarterback is, about to get smashed behind the line of scrimmage and takes you right out of a drive. It's nice to be able to have that element where your quarterback can advance the ball. The questions are this, though, Lubie, and they remain the same. I guess, you could probably, analyze 20 of the 32 franchises and come up with the same question marks, the old Matthew Lesko thing. Do you have a franchise quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa at this point? And, unfortunately, after 3 years, the jury is still very much out. I don't know that this guy is winning you Super Bowls. If he plays like he did in spots this year, you're thinking, wow, that's great. But unfortunately, after a couple of blistering starts in ball games, and that's been a characteristic of the Dolphins even before Mike McDaniel. I mean, that was one of the weird things about Brian Flores, who I never understood what his approach was offensively. I had no idea what he was trying to do. They were the hardest team to predict, although you figure they were going to do something very boring offensively on almost every possession. And you're wondering, where's the playbook, man? Do they consult it ever? What does he have on a chart? Everybody else has this brilliant multicolored chart, very neatly organized. And I think Flores had like a napkin that said, run the ball. Because I don't trust my quarterback. And that was it. But they would get off to quick starts in games. They almost always orchestrated like a beautiful drive to open up the ball game, and then it would dissipate. and they'd be back and relegated to a series of 3-and-outs and punts and ugliness, and I'd be unable to perpetuate any kind of success. This year, we saw more of that. I mean, they had a lot of razzle-dazzle, very exciting elements to it. That 84-yard catch and run by Jalen Waddle was spectacular, the kind of thing that we hadn't seen around here since Clayton and Duper. So that component of the game was very good. And I want to believe in Mike McDaniel. I think, in terms of his approach to people, and the game and what the game means and all of this stuff, I think he's great, right? Could really develop. But from a strategic standpoint, starting to show some holes. And that could be obviously complicated by the fact that maybe his team isn't as good as we thought they were. Because they're just not well-rounded enough. They're just missing something. That they run the ball well and then they go away from it. They pass the ball well, and then all of a sudden they can't complete a pass. And unfortunately, in this last game, they completed 3 straight to the other team, which was, among 4 what was it, 5 turnovers in a game? To throw 3 picks or 4?
3 interceptions and a fumble.
Oh, yeah, 3 in a row. Yeah,
fucking Mostert fumble, which changed everything.
And a Mostert fumble. Now, people are all over that. Mayo was on this long Stephen A. Smith rant yesterday on the Food Show, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, and boy, did he turn serious, right? All of a sudden. And he was like saying the turning point of the game was the Mostert fumble. I didn't believe that to be the case. And Mostert isn't the kind of running back that fumbles a lot. In fact,
no, he's not.
That has not been a problem that has plagued the Miami Dolphins, worrying about whether or not your running backs can hang on to the football. And it would not have made me shy away from the running game in the second half. Usually, too, though, if a team is losing, you always hate it when, they're down like two touchdowns. And I hate now. There's a term that really bothers me whenever announcers go to it's a 2-possession game.
I know you hate that. I say that all the time.
No, but it might be a 12-possession game. I don't know. How do you know they're going to get 2 scores, right away? And then which scores are we talking about? Are we talking about 2 field goals? Are we talking about a field goal and a touchdown? That this whole business that it's a 2-score game is very, very vague, is it not? And yet it's so prominent as a cliche now. Everybody loves it. I was watching some bowl game, and the announcer was actually pretty good. Some nondescript guy that got assigned to the Schmenk Bowl. And I wasn't really familiar with his work, and I thought, wow, this guy's got a little bit of life. He's doing a pretty good job on the play-by-play. He knows when to get excited. He's not screaming the entire time like Gus Johnson. And, you're thinking this guy's pretty good. But over and over again, he kept talking about a 2-score game. It's a 2-score game. It could be a 2-score game. It's a 2-score game. And it's like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? They're down, whatever, 11 points. I don't know. Is that really a 2-score game? That seems like it's more like a 3-score game at that point. Because you got to make the touchdown, convert a 2, which is not easy, about a 50-50 play versus, say, 90-some-odd% of extra points are made. And then you need a field goal, which is a different type of score. So, I don't know. It bothers me whenever people say
I say it all the time.
We're capable of doing the math, right? Especially if you're a degenerate. You're factoring in a lot of other components into the equation. There are so many permutations of how you can get screwed when you're betting a football game. Although last night was not one of them. Because as soon as I saw Nick Foles out there, and I thought, wow, unless this guy can somehow, drum up the magic that he had with the Philadelphia Eagles several years ago. And I was trying to figure out how many years ago was that he took the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
Is that 5?
It's ancient, right?
Yeah.
He was great that year. That particular year, he was fantastic. Who was he replacing, Foles? Carson Wentz?
Yes.
With the
Carson
Eagles?
Wentz. Good job at you, yes.
Okay. He was dynamite, and you would have thought, wow, you would want to sign this guy. They didn't. They kept Wentz, and subsequently, he has become a journeyman. It's not uncommon, Lubie. A lot of quarterbacks that are highly regarded become journeymen very quickly. Look at Baker Mayfield, right? Journeyman, now all of a sudden you're thinking he's going to be the future starter in Los Angeles with the Rams.
2018 was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Okay, so it's only 4 years ago. Wow.
And Wentz went from MVP candidate to, I don't even, is he still on the Commanders? Like, is he on the roster? Carson Wentz? Like,
Wentz, yes.
It's just crazy.
But he's a very distant consideration there. As they've decided, they went with Heineke, and then they're not even considering. I think they did give like some lip service to the idea of bringing Wentz back if Heineke didn't get it together. All right. bunch of things happen besides that. So anyway, the Dolphins leave the question unanswered. It's very much unanswered. My lean right now would be to say I would have to see a lot more of Tua next year to decide. So you're already in your fourth year with a quarterback, and you're really not sure that he's the guy.
My issue is I don't have those questions. I think he did enough this year. I don't like what happened this last game, and I don't like what happened on the West Coast, but he showed me enough. My problem is the injuries. It is not just something that people are doing to hate on him. Like, the injuries are a real thing. And, yeah, other guys get injured. They do. But they seem to sustain it. Like, this guy, it's been every year he's going to miss 3 to 5 games. Like, I don't know if every quarterback does that.
It's not good when, you get breathed on and you have a concussion again.
And the concussion thing's a bad thing. Like, that was never a thing that was an issue for him. That's now, if he does, first of all, they haven't said he had one, but if he did have one, then that would be 2 officially and probably 3. That first one where they said he didn't have one, we all think he had one. So that would probably be
speaking
3.
in Hebrew if he has 2 more hits.
1 year, that's not good. So that's the thing is I would probably use a draft pick on a quarterback if you have in the second round, if one of those guys like a Hendon Hooker is there.
I mean,
they have a second. I think they have a second round. Remember, they gave up a lot of their double picks. So I think he's their guy, but the injuries scare the crap out of me. Like
I wouldn't be afraid to come back with him next year, and I would probably come back with Tua with the same semi-high hopes that I had for him this year. And as I said, he's an easy guy to root for, a very likable guy. Nothing would be better for Dolphin fans to actually see this work out and not have to worry about it, not have it be a concern anymore, and maybe get some beefed up talent on the offensive line to help out. Certainly, he knows how to throw the ball over the middle of the field, but you can't be a one-trick pony. He has had some success throwing deep. His deep ball passing has not been overwhelmingly impressive. His guys have been so wide open that they usually have had to wait for the ball, but he can sling it. His running instincts and pocket instincts don't seem to be overwhelmingly great. And this business of telegraphing those last 3 passes, one was just an overthrow. The other 2, it turned out that Green Bay's defense had figured it out. And, that was not something that wasn't revealed when he was on that road trip in the 3-game losing streak, that if you compress the middle of the field and force him to throw outside, you have a far better chance of derailing any success that Tua would have than you do if you just allow him to throw the ball to Waddle and Tyreek Hill over the middle, which, is exactly where they feast in terms of being able to make yards after the catch. So very suspect there. They have the Patriots on the road this week with Teddy Bridgewater possibly starting. Bridgewater was not successful. I thought it was a good move to bring in Teddy Bridgewater, but he hasn't really distinguished himself as being a backup quarterback.
Well, remember, even if he was good or not, he got the thing that they thought was a concussion, but it wasn't a concussion. Yeah. And he was kicked out of a game because of the spotter dude.
I put him in there like slightly ahead of Jacoby Brissett.
He's supposed to be
a reliable backup guy.
He's supposed to be.
Because he had that one big year. Or was it just 1 year with Minnesota where he really looked like he was going to develop into a star? And it was kind of an improbable development in that direction because a lot of people thought Teddy Bridgewater was not going to be much as a pro quarterback. And he started out kind of slowly. Then he blossomed in that one season. What did Minnesota have a big dynamic running game? I want to say yesterday. Yeah, I must have. And that helped him out immensely. But he acquitted himself very well as a starting quarterback. And you thought, wow, this guy is moving into, I don't know about upper echelon, but certainly top third in the league in terms of starting quarterbacks. And, he hasn't really done much since. He had that devastating injury.
He had a leg injury, and that derailed him.
Really hasn't been the same guy after that, right? You may as well bring back Rich
He was a
Gannon.
good game manager guy for the Saints and the Broncos, so it made Dolphins fans think, thank goodness we have a real backup.
I thought it was a good idea to get him. No?
And then whenever he's come in, he's been Like, he was uber average to the point where you wanted Skylar Thompson, but then Skylar Thompson just, talking about throwing away a game versus the Jets, he was abysmal. And literally in a game that they should have won, he just handed, and the Jets weren't good, and he just handed it over. So I don't know. Like, to me, I'd like to see Bridgewater, hoping that he can just feed off the run game, because the run game is a lot better now than it was then. I don't know what to do with the Dolphins. I'm so at a loss.
Well, and the Patriots, also have a lot of incentive, right? They still have a shot to make the postseason. They do. They obviously, Belichick hates the Dolphins organization because, he's chasing Shula. The only reason he's still coaching is because he wants to destroy Don Shula's memory and legacy. He doesn't give a flying one about anything else. And, No, I mean, obviously he can coach, and if anybody can pick out another team's weakness and capitalize on it and compromise their chances of doing anything to combat, that problem that everything that's wrong with the team is recognizable, it would be Belichick. So we'll see. That's no cinch. You're sitting there with the tickets on our recommendation. Over under for the season of 9.
That
Remember,
was easy.
we
Easy.
almost were shocked when John Kajemi, our
Yep.
football analyst here, and of course, the man responsible for connecting us with Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo. We can't thank him enough for that. I mean, Kajemi's a great guy, and he knows what he's talking about. But remember how tepid he was, reluctant he was to embrace our concept that there's no way that the Dolphins could win less than 9 games this year. No.
Yeah, he thought eight
way.
and a half. He really was weary of going over, and I thought,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Like, that at all.
And then we talked them into thinking that it was going to happen.
Yes.
And then they were 8-3.
Yes.
And wow, I mean, if they end the season on a 6-game skid, which is not entirely out of the question,
Oh, no. Right now.
I think they're a better team than the Jets.
Look, the Jets' defense has been vastly improved, but their offense is a disaster, whether it's Mike White or Zach Wilson. And their defense is starting to show signs of regressing to the mean. So, yes, I agree with Defo. The Dolphins are better than the Jets. The Dolphins should be better than the Patriots. The Patriots' offense is a total disaster. They lucked into turnovers that gave them points, and that made that Bengals game closer than it should have been. The Dolphins, for the first half, played really well. They had a lead in Buffalo in the fourth quarter. They looked like they were going to take a 3-score lead, Defoe's favorite, go up by possibly 17 against the Packers. And these before half turnovers, before half lapses defensively have sort of hurt them. And then Tua may have had a concussion, so that's wonderful. So he probably isn't going to play. And even if he does, he's been, whether it's, well, he's a one-read guy and they figured him out. I don't know if that's it. My issue is he's not taking what the defense is giving to him. They have these underneath routes. They have the ability to screen to the running back. They have a running game that's played much better this last month, yet they keep trying to get down the field, and I don't get it. I get it. Early in the game, you get these hits. Fine, but defenses change, so you have to change with the defense. If they're going to give you underneath routes, take it. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. You have Wilson. You have Sherfield. You have Moser. You have Wilson Jr. You have all these guys that can catch the ball and run with it. Put the ball in their hands. That the 3 interceptions were throws, whether it was a bad route or Tua missed, whatever it was, they didn't have to happen. They were down the field in a place where the ball didn't need to be thrown. On the last interception, you see Tyreek Hill streaking across the middle wide open. Tua, for most of his career, has been good at taking what's there. For some reason, I don't know if it's the Justin Herbert debate or the confidence he has and the confidence Mike McDaniel has in him between the play calling and him attempting these throws, they're not necessary. They're just not. And now the concussion issue. He definitely had 1. We think he had 2 already this year. This would be his 3rd this season. He'd be done for the year. And now the injury issue that a lot of people were worried about is there. It's not only physical, but now concussions. He wouldn't just retire, I don't think, but that would be an issue that you have to worry about going forward. So a lot riding on these last 2 games. Mike McDaniel's not getting fired, but when you go from 8-3 to 8-7, a team that was once the 2nd seed, now you're hovering around the 7th seed, and you have 2 games that you should win coming up between a Patriots team with a horrendous quarterback situation and a Jets team with a horrendous quarterback situation. One on the road, and the weather actually should be pretty good up in New England for the Dolphins. And then you're at home versus the Jets. McDaniel, I don't know about hot seats. I know that if you start 8-3 and you limp to the finish, that's not good for going forward. So we will find out if Tua has a concussion or not. We will find out what is the prognosis on Tua. And Bridgewater's supposed to get a lot of the first team snaps. We'll see what happens with the Dolphins going forward. And we'll talk a lot about it going forward. Appreciate you checking us out. Check us out each and every morning, 7 to 9 on South Florida Live, The Defo Show with Lubie. Look up both, either on YouTube or Google. The Defo Show with Lubie, South Florida Live. And check us out on our national podcast. Brendan Lang did it again. It was hysterical, hilarious, and knows his handicapping thing, a handicapping thing or two. The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours for that. And check us out many days with our South Florida content right here, The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?